and you sing oldies really well. But when I played Sunday best, like I didn't hear anybody. So I just want to let you guys know. Hey, it's great to see you guys. Do you mind, we love to start off with a fun thing each session that we do. And so do you guys mind if we start off with something fun again? Would that be all right? You guys like that? Okay. We are going to start off with a wonderful thing called a Bible quiz. Now, we talk discipleship in the church a whole bunch. We make disciples, we go and make, we have discipleship, we have Bible studies, different things like that. So I just wanted to kind of quiz the room and see where you're at. And we have some giveaways, don't we, Jess? Can we share what the giveaways are? So we got some giveaways over here. These are shirts that we made up for our 10-year anniversary. And one says Change Church, right? There. Ooh, ah. Another one says Love Your Neighbor. Aw, that's wonderful. Okay, that's good. What's the next one say? Next one says, Radical Love, Righteous, Gnarly, yeah, Radical, super awesome. And the next one is for kids, Roll with Jesus. There you go. So we don't care if it fits you or not, it's a prize. So if you win it, don't say anything about how it fits you or I'm taking your box lunch. That's how it goes. Okay. So we're going to have a Bible quiz. Now, this is raise your hand. If you know the answer, you can't just shout it out. That means you don't win and no one wins because then everyone knows the answer. All right, here we go. Are you guys ready for the Bible quiz? All right, number one. Let's start off easy. How many books are in the Bible? Oh, I saw a hand over there in the flowery shirt. Not you. I know. Yeah, put it down. Maybe next year. The one behind you. Yes? 66. And the answer is, that's correct. There's 66 books in the Protestant Bible. Protestant Bible. How many books are in the non-Protestant Bible? Catholic. Nope, not 74. No. I'm glad you guys don't know. That means we're Lutheran. Okay, 73. Those are the books of the Apocrypha. The books of the Apocrypha, and those books are Baruch, Judith, 1st and 2nd Maccabees, Sirach, Tobit, and Wisdom. And people are like, God, that wasn't the Bible quiz. Okay, here we go. Next question. Who can name the first 5 books of the Bible? Wait, did you give her shirt? Which one did she want? Which shirt do you want? Radical love, righteous. She shouted that. You got to say it with like a radical love. There you go, radical. That was great. Okay, give it up for our prize winner. This is great. Okay, who can name the first 5 books of the Bible? And this is going to be, wait, you have first hand over here? All right, let's go. Ready for this? Okay, here we go. You got to stand up. Great. What is your name?
Les,
please name the first 5 books of the Bible.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy.
Whoa! Thanks, Jonathan, for fielding me in front of the speaker. I appreciate that. All right, that's great. I love to point the mic directly at the speaker often, so that's wonderful. All right, Change Church out the door. That's great. Okay, here's the next question. We got 5 questions. This is number 3. Who was the oldest person in the Bible? Oh, right there. I saw your hand right away. Methuselah is correct. What? Oh, how old? Okay, Methuselah. How old was Methuselah? Oh, you just lost your shirt. What'd you say? 799 is so wrong. Okay, no, absolutely not. What do you got over there? 968 is so close, but so wrong. Okay. What do we got? Wrong again. 969, you were off by 1. That was so close. We got a winner over here. Let's go. Which one would you like? The gray one. Okay, that's good because the other one's a schmedium. Okay, here we go. All right, 969, book of Genesis, right? That would be the son of Enoch. Son of Enoch, 969 years old, Methuselah. Question number 4. How many times are dragons mentioned in the Bible? People are like, what? How many of you are like, what? Yeah.
Right here.
Which, am I counting the Catholic Bible? Sure. If you have a different number in your head between how many is in our Bible and their Bible, you win. Like, that's it. So, what happened? The seraphim are an angel, so it's actually mentioned as specifically it's dragon, and it's defined in the King James. It actually is translated as dragon. Yes. No, way wrong. How dare you? 5? Nope. No. Wait, we got one. Say it. 1? Negative. Go ahead. Huh? 0. No, they're absolutely in the Bible. Dragons are all over the Bible. 35 times. What? I know, isn't it crazy? Okay, now listen to this. 22 times in the Old Testament and 13 times in Revelation. Dragon is translated in the Bible, all right? Dragon. No, that's good. That means we have an extra shirt, right? Who is closest? Who is closest? Who likes dragons the most? Does anyone have a sculpture of a dragon? You got right there. You win for raising your hand that you love dragons. I have so many questions, but I don't have enough time. So many questions. I feel like she's a fan of an HBO show. But okay, here we go. All right, last question. Big one. What year was the King James written? Oh, you shouted it out without raising your hand. That's a big no-no. Who did that? Who did that? Now everyone knows the answer. I'm just kidding. You're not in trouble. I'm going to let you win today. Can we is it a winner today? Is that good? Okay, that's great. All right. Jess, how many shirts do we have? Can you stand up for me? 1611. 1611 is the year the King James. So I'm going to share with you a gift that I was given. Is that okay? I'm going to give you my Monster Energy drinks and M&Ms. Come on up. You win a Monster Energy drink. Woo! That's great. There you go. That's Pastor? That's your pastor. Okay, great. I'm excited. Are you guys live streaming tomorrow? Because I'm excited. Okay, that's great. The bishop's good. I like that. This is so monsters for everyone. That's great. That's wonderful. All right, how would you guys like some content now? You guys like that? So here's what we're doing. This session is going to be the kind of hold your breath session. We're talking about the key shifts that we see in the church. This is the one where we get uncomfortable. Is everyone okay with that? I want you to take a deep breath. I want everyone to say the bishop invited Pastor Joe. So if you got questions, I leave at 12. So, okay, here we go. Just letting you know where to direct those. Bishop, just remember, if you invite the bishop to coffee, you have to give the reason you are going to coffee. Okay, here we go. All right, that is true forever now. I'm just telling you, we have labeled that as a rule in the Synod. Okay, here we go. Here are the 5 key shifts that we're going to be talking about. These are the things that we see as the neighborhood that are happening. And yeah, nothing. That's what we see. Nothing is happening in the future of the church. No, these are the 5 key shifts. We want you to write these down. These are what we are operating the future of the neighborhood church on and what we are teaching across the ELCA. So one of the things we want to let you know that we didn't start off with, but Jess and I have taught in Congregational Vitality for about 7 years. We have taught all of the mission developers and church planners that have come up through the church about how to plant church and how to do the nuts and bolts of church. And so we have taught in many different synods. We have taught in cohorts. We've taught conferences, different things like that. We've had the joy of seeing this, but what we realize is that while we were teaching the nuts and bolts of church planting, that was teaching what we are doing now and what we need to do to operate now. What the churches were hesitant towards that we learned more and more often was what was coming in the future. So we have started to teach in everything that we do what we see as the shifts coming in the future years. Because right now, uniquely, we have an opportunity to catch up to current day culture because everything had a sort of reset moment. And so we have an opportunity right now to shift forward with culture and say, here are the things that we see that are happening. And so with that also, we do have a lot of fun with Wartburg. We both came out of Wartburg. My dad was a pastor at Wartburg, was born there, literally. So it was one of those things that we love. But Jess has also served on the board at?
Board of LSTC. Joe, you also attend, yes. And Joe also attended
Pacific Lutheran Theological Seminary in
while
Berkeley
he was an
when it was on the
undergrad.
Hill. There we go. See, we got that out there. We've partnered with Luther on some things. So we love all the seminaries. I just want to say we poked a lot of fun today at Wartburg and had a lot of fun with that. But honestly, we work with almost every single seminary because the Neighborhood Church University came from the idea that we could partner with professors that were teaching theology and bring that to the local church. and we started launching local church classes from professors in seminary to give that back to the people. So we love the seminaries. We think they're incredible, and just wanted to say that the shifting is happening in the seminaries, but it's really neat because it's becoming more local, and it's becoming more accessible, which I think is really cool. So here's some of the shifts that we see happening. Jess, take the first one.
The first one is decentralized.
Woo!
Sunday is no longer sacred. How many of you have experienced that? All right. Personal story, our 13-year-old daughter made the traveling volleyball team. Yes, very exciting. But do you know how many Sundays that took for us this year? All of them, right? I think she had 7 or 8 weekends.
We went to the core team, which is our council, because we can't name it council because that's traditional. And so we named it the core team. That was a joke. I know a lot.
You went too fast.
I did go too fast. We went to them like, we need 8 Sundays off at the start of the year in the first 3 months. And they were like, yeah, we can make that work.
Okay, sure.
Do you hear what our church said? Of course we can make that work. We'll bring in people, we'll raise up leader, right? Awesome, right? And I said, okay, we'll split it, we'll go back and forth and do different things, so we managed that. But when was her last weekend that we absolutely said that we could not do?
The big tournament always happens Easter weekend, because in a lot of places, they either have the Friday off or they have the Monday off, which then that tournament is actually 3 days, and then the kids don't have to miss school. So there was a long, long debate that lasted multiple weeks at the house about what the plan was going to be. And it was everyone had to say in the conversation. Not that Kaylee was making the decision, but everyone was able to have that conversation. And surprisingly, but not surprisingly, she said, no, I don't want to go play volleyball that weekend. I want to be at church because it's important for us. So I think it's this idea of having these conversations. But so like we said, Sunday is no longer sacred. And I would even say growing up, Wednesday was kind of a sacred time. Growing up, youth, my basketball coach was not happy when I had confirmations on Wednesday. But our practice was cut short. That doesn't really exist anymore. There's this growth of on-demand faith. This is a great example. How many of you go home in the evenings and your favorite show comes on at 8 o'clock at night and you plant yourself in front of the TV every Thursday night at 8 o'clock? How many of you do that anymore? A few? How many of you are like, okay, well, I've got this and this and this. I can go to Hulu and watch it at 10 o'clock, right, when I get back from whatever I'm doing. I have been waiting 2 days, 3 days to watch Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso, we can't
I
Wednesday
haven't
yet.
been able to watch Ted Lasso this week.
Brutal.
But, right, it's on demand. I can go watch whatever I show when I want it, right? The loyalty to one church on one day for 1 hour is no longer something that can be taken for granted. Church will become available every day of the week without having worship every day of the week. We got to be thinking about those moments of worship that happen throughout the week, not just 1 hour on a Sunday. How do you worship all day, every day?
And just by a show of hands, who used to watch like TGIF and sit in front of the TV at a certain amount of time, at a certain day to watch their favorite show? Okay. You all changed? We'll get to that in a second. Don't worry. All right, here's number 2. Measured faithfulness. 1, 2, 3, 4. Counting worship attenders is not measuring discipleship. It's a big one. I'll take one clap. That's okay. The rest of the people are stressing right now. It's okay. Counting worship attenders is not measuring discipleship. That's good for 2 reasons. One is because counting worship attenders is really hard right now. Okay? Really hard. So that's very difficult to do and probably not accurate. It probably wasn't accurate before when we were doing it to count discipleship. So the future of the church will be data-informed, not data-driven. Okay, I want to be very clear about that. We have a lot of availability right now to find out who is looking at us on Google, who is watching us on YouTube, Facebook, who's joining us on Zoom. All those are data points that we have. We should be informed by them because those are people who are interested in having a relationship to a community of faith. We should not be driven by them. Discipleship is not driven by data. We are informed by data in order to engage people in community. And so we use that. So the thing is, the previous data sets used for churches to measure growth are no longer valid. What do we measure now? We need to measure your rootedness in a relationship with Jesus Christ. We need to measure if you have gone from congregation to committed to core. That's what we are measuring. You need to put people in a pipeline and measure where they are at and why they haven't moved from a place into another one, and talk about that in your weekly meetings and in your monthly council meetings. So, measured faithfulness. Number 3.
Contributor versus consumer. How many of us walk into a church wanting something, needing something? How many of you walk in ready to give and to serve? Culture drives consumer. Church drives creators, contributors, and collaborators. Consumers receive the gospel and come to church for programs and ministries that serve their needs. Contributors, creators, and collaborators see the future of ministry being the stories that are not yet written on their hearts and the hearts of others. How are you creating a space for collaboration, for contributions, for you to create ministry that others want to walk alongside?
And I think it's incredible, too. We have conversation about emails and how much information we send out as a church. People want to make sure that they receive too many emails from the church. Has anyone ever heard that before? Like we send out too much information? Have any of you ever signed up for like Amazon or like Target or anything like that? I mean, have you done that, signed up before for something in your life? Raise your hand if you signed up for something. Okay. How do they have a number on how much they reach out to you to tell you about their amazing offerings and the things that you should be? How many of you are like, I'm getting this again? And then one time you pop in and like, I didn't know I needed a toilet brush. But I'm going to order it today. Why? Because you've had this 70 times, and the one time you decided to access it was that, oh my gosh, you did. Don't reveal the surprise.
Sorry.
And so with that, the amazing part about being a creator and a contributor and a collaborator is that we're not driving consumers of the church. We're inviting people to create with us. We are co-creators with God. And the moment we teach people that they can come into the church and they've changed us by being present means that they can create with us. And so we are creating people in the church to be contributors and collaborators.
The next one is a personal relationship. The church must be deconstructed. It can no longer be about the building. We've heard stories of your congregations merging, rethinking ministry, thinking outside the box. And that's okay. Is it hard and painful and you get your hands dirty? But a lot of times when you come out on the other side, it's beautiful. And you're empowered to think about ministry in a different way. The church must be deconstructed. We must take down the building brick by brick and build it back to a place where people build relationships with each other and with God. It starts with relationships.
Can I say this out loud? I think the church needs to be baptized. I think we need to die to our old selves and come up with a fresh breath of air and realize our new life in Christ. And the moment we understand that the church needs to be baptized, we realize that whatever we're holding on to is an old life. Much like every single one of our personal relationship with Jesus Christ that we die to daily, we just don't let the church do that. We need to let the church die daily along with us so that we can be made new in life. We need to deconstruct what we have built so consistently and trapped in 1 hour on Sunday. We have trapped the church into 1 day on 1 hour on a Sunday on our schedule. Oh, how much does that hurt? Jess, why would we not do that? Tell us why we would not trap the church in 1 hour.
No, I was not going to answer that question. I'm going to say something else.
Okay.
But you can answer that question if you want to.
I let her right into it, too. And I was like, yeah, drop it. This is great.
No, but to think
Welcome
about,
to our marriage.
Yeah, that happens. But to think about how many of you can jump on Facebook and watch your church on Sunday or on YouTube? How many of you would like to check out other churches that are maybe on the other side of this country? How about on the other side of the world? How much do you want to jump on and experience other things, right? We're deconstructing how we think about church. You can access church at any point throughout the entire week if you really, really wanted to. But do you? Are you inviting folks to do that? Are you sending snippets and places for them to engage with your church? So you can answer a question now, or we can go to the next slide.
Well, now I feel like I have to say something about it. All right, that's great. So what we have here is, how many of you love a restaurant in your community? Okay, I want you to imagine right now that you are eating at your restaurant. That favorite dish that you have, that you've walked in, the host greets you by name because you've been there a lot, and they know you. Oh, Jim, and Nancy. You guys, I love that you're here. Here's your table. It's by the window. That's wonderful. We're going to get your favorite server. We have your dishes prepared for you. Oh, and that wonderful food that you eat, it's that food that satiates every part of your being, right? You just want to be full at the end of the night. That kind of dinner that you've had at your favorite place? Now, I want you to imagine as they're walking out, they said, hey, Jim and Nancy, we just want to let you know that we made a shift, and we're going to only be open one day a week for 1 hour. Yeah, it's for everyone. I know there's limited seating, but everyone has to be there at the same time, and it's only for that hour. We hope to see you next week. And how many of you are like, I ain't coming next week? I want you to think about, it's your favorite restaurant that you just had your favorite food at. You were spiritually fed at this restaurant. And they just said, hey, we're only going to be open 1 hour, 1 day a week for everyone in the community. We hope to see you next week. Would you go? You'd probably wait a couple weeks, right? And you'd be like, I want to see how this works out. I want to see if this... What do we do in church? Don't we do the same thing? Hey, we have some food that you might be spiritually hungry for. We have a gospel that we believe that you need. We have a community that we want you to be a part of, but we've trapped it on 1 hour on 1 day a week. What have we done? The church needs to be baptized again and be deconstructed. It's a powerful language, but if you begin to think about it, it's a shift. It's not what's happening right now. We want you to shift with it. We want you to give it 3 to 5 years. We want you to walk into this, but you need to talk to the church about it. You need to see this be a reality of churches coming together. So here's the next one. And the last one. So if you've heard of Web 3.0, right? Web 2.0. How many of you have heard of Web 2.0? You guys, Web 1.0? Okay, we got this. So this is going to be a faith, not a church, but a faith 3.0 is what we're going to talk about this. So Web 1.0 actually began a long time ago. We're talking in the 90s. And Web 1.0 was access to information. It was static, as they call it. It was basically the first indoctrination of like the WWW, the World Wide Web. And that first indoctrination was really that you could access information very slowly. But you had access to global information, lots of information. Web 2.0 is that you could interact with that information, right? Which means that you could like it, you could not like it, you could share it, you could send it, you could do all those things. The Web 3.0 is that it's a new reality, that you can actually be immersed in the information. You become a part of the information. Faith is the same thing that's happening. We're moving from static in the church to interconnected and live and social activity. The Faith 3.0 will be the same thing. It won't be defined by individuals in community, right? It'll be defined by individuals in community, not community at the church. Think about that. What we've shared at the beginning is that we're working from the church back into the community back into the church. The future of the church will be defined by the individuals of your faith community that are sent back into the community outside of your church. That will be the future of the church. Now, if you take in the other key shifts, that means the church will not look like what it does today. The church will look like a place that we send people into community to change things. And that is a beautiful message of the gospel. That we are sent for the sake of the love of God in Jesus Christ. We are sent for the sake of those who need us, not sent for the sake of those who come to us. It's a very big shift. And so that is the 5 key shifts that we see happening right now. So we wanted to pause for a second. We got so we're going to 12, right? So we got, I would say, like 10 minutes for questions. And then we want to share with you 5 truths about worship.
I'm going to start us off with a question that we received.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
In between our talks or whatever. The question is this. Many of you may be in a small rural setting where maybe the nearest community is 15, 20, 30 miles away. How do you figure out how to build this connection to community and then back again to your church?
So if we're thinking about communities that are not in meccas or cities or suburban realities, right, where many of these peoples exist, really it's an expansion of where you see your body of Christ, right? But it's also an expansion of how you view the physical geography of the body of Christ. Remember, we talked about a key shift of deconstructing the church and the key shift of things moving away a little bit. What's happening now is the availability to see that the body of Christ can be accessed in many different ways. And when we talk about the 5 key truths of worship, we'll get into a little bit more, but what we're seeing right now is that churches have a story to tell no matter who they are. And the ability to share that story is in the hands of every single person that exists now in our community. So if you're out here, and I see that we have a generous amount of age ranges. Is that a true statement? If you look around the room, can we say that we have a generous amount of age ranges, right? Is that true? We got some youth in here that were up here a second ago that said they had 20 words and spoke for 25 minutes, which was awesome because I love youth. Don't sign up for anything but show up for everything. It's awesome. So good. Thanks for measured faithfulness. And so we get to this. Now, how many of you have a smartphone? If you got a smartphone, can you raise that up? Okay, great. That's awesome. Okay, put that down. Can you guys raise up your Bibles that you have with you? Because I want to open up some scripture.
Well done, friends. Good job. Yes.
Now, you raised your phone like you got a Bible on there. How many of you downloaded the Bible app? You got the Bible app downloaded? How many of you create an event every single Sunday for the Bible app so your members can be geographed located to you?
Yes,
and that you can have your whole bulletin in the Bible app every single Sunday?
Wait, what? Yeah.
Church is changing. No matter where you are, we now have access to share stories. No matter where you are. How many of you have FaceTimed with your grandchildren? Okay? How many of you have sent a video before to someone? You are creators. You are collaborators. You are content generators. Stop letting the church be the only person that creates the content. In every single church, in every single space, every single one of us have the gospel.
I would also say this. So that's a very digital way to go out and get connected to a community. But I think it's also important to think about the physical, right? If your church is in the middle of a field, listen, I grew up in that space. I understand what it's like. When I left to go to seminary, my goal was to go back and to be the connector amongst 3 congregations. That was what my goal was. And then I met Joe and everything changed. It's fine. We're doing great ministry, right? But
fine, everything's fine. We're great. Our marriage is solid. We've been married for 15 years. This is great. Yeah.
It's fine. No. But okay, then let's
It's so good. It's so good. I love you so much.
Okay. Then let me tell you another part of my story. We moved to Arkansas. We planted a church. And then that same pull came to my heart again because I landed in a community where there were a bunch of Lutheran churches, and all of them had an okay youth ministry and an okay kids ministry. And then that call came into fruition, and I became the children's ministry area coordinator.
C-Mac, like the Big Mac.
What Janelle does for your synod is what you all can implement within your own congregations. Go walk into that community that's 15 miles away. Make those connections to the teachers, to the nonprofits, maybe to the church that is in that community. Church besties, right? Like, how do we be church together? So that would just be my little thought around the idea of also doing this physically with your partnering congregations.
Our continued hope is to break the walls that exist between churches. That is our continued hope. We have to go knock down those walls. And it's not easy. We walked into every church as a new, young, fresh church, walking, saying, hey, let's combine our youth programs. And the first response we got back with Loving Churches was, hey, if you guys come in and you're new, young, and fresh, and you want to combine youth programs, all our families are going to leave to you. And I was like, no, that's not what we want. They're like, but it's what's going to happen. So no, is what they said. I'm like, hold on. Like, the kingdom is bigger than this. The kingdom is bigger that we can have an area coordinator for incredible ministry and that we can bring 3 kids in one youth group together with 12 kids from 4 youth groups. And then they'll have 16 kids, which kids like a lot. So if we get past ourselves, we can have incredible ministry. Sometimes if we remove ourselves from the church, incredible ministry can happen. We need to die to our old self and rise new with Christ and allow the church to do the same. So,
all right, for
real
real
question that we ask for ourselves.
Any other questions? And yes, go ahead.
Do you guys have a website or a way that this information can be fresh with us more often than just once here tonight or today?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're working right now with the ELCA to launch the Neighborhood Church University, which we'll call the Farmers Market for Faith, and or Lutheranish.com. I don't know, one of those flavors might work really well. But we are going to have this. But what we're working right now is ELCA, which is really neat, and I want you guys to hear this because I think it's incredible. They're calling it ELCA Powered, which means that they're letting us teach how we teach on the local level without putting all the red tape at the top. And they're saying, hey, if the local church can teach as a local church, let's empower that. Let's empower you doing the work and ministry that you do. And so our hope is that all of these lessons that we do will be available. We're going to reach out to leaders across the ELCA, right, and our ecumenical partners in order to do a podcast every week and get them to teach their courses of things that they're passionate about. But right now, we have a cohort that we teach once a month that any church can jump into, right? And we do this same teaching once a month with any churches from across the ELCA that just want to engage and learn more. And so we have opened that up because we had these same questions that often. So we can give that to Bishop afterwards and talk through that and kind of go with that too. So great question. Yeah. Can we make the slides available? Nope. If you didn't write it down.
That is not true.
You
Yes,
got to
we
write
can.
it quick. Like, if you can't write, no, absolutely we will. Absolutely, right? So we'll get with Jason. He's an amazing communicator, and we'll send him half of the things in PDF, half of the things in a DocX, and half of the things in something he can't read, so he has to reach back out to us.
No.
I'm just kidding. It'll be all wonderful in
I'll
PDF.
take care of it. We'll be fine.
One over there, yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I love this question. Can I take this question?
Sure. Will you repeat the question first?
I will. I would love to repeat the question. How do you let a ministry, I'm going to change the wording a tad just so we create the flavor for it. How do you let a beloved, cared for Golden Cow ministry die in the church? Is that accurate? Okay, that's great. The question is, how do you let something die in the church? Now, we ask a question to our lead team that I think every church should be asking. We learned it from a Carey Nieuwhof book called The 7 Impacts. I think 7 Impact.
Lasting Impact.
Lasting Impact and 7 great questions you should ask. At the end of that book, he asks a key question, which I think every church should ask, and we ask it consistently. If you weren't a leader in this church and you weren't passionate for this church, what event wouldn't you attend? Hear it one more time.
If you didn't have to,
what wouldn't you go to? Which tells you where your discipleship is at. Which tells you what events people are attending just because they feel obligated to attend and try to keep it alive. If you have a real lead team asking these shifting questions, they will answer that question honestly, and your lead team, your core team, council will make a visionary decision for the church to say that, hey, we're going to be concentrating here on our discipleship because we're instituting a leadership pipeline, and right now that falls outside of our pipeline. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put this one on hold for a minute so that we can concentrate on these 3, and when we concentrate on these 3, we can come back to this one. Now, I want to share with you 2 key things I did right there. The leadership choice is not on the pastor alone. The leadership choice is on the leadership team that is making visionary decisions for the church. Our core team is a 3 to 5 year visionary strategy team. They talk through annual breakthrough objectives, strategic priorities, and then 3 to 5 year visionary objectives. Our staff deals with the day-to-day. Our core team does not deal with it. If I have an issue with someone saying that worship went too long, we're not going to talk about that in our council. Why? Because it's not visionary. We let our church talk through the key shifts that are happening because I need to know in a year from now that we are breaking through. And then our staff needs to hear about the day-to-day. So those key shifts that we're talking about a year from now says, hey, we're developing a leadership pipeline, and this ministry right now is really tough to fit into that. We love it. It's a huge priority for us, but right now we need to concentrate here because we believe that'll give us the growth and discipleship. So I believe it's a lead team, right? But it also has to have the vision behind it. And then at that part, too, if you're taking something away, the path needs to be there for people to go to. One-on-one. I think there's a care component there that says, hey, I know we're taking this out. So we launched a pub theology, tap theology at the pub, right? We launched that. It was wonderful. I had 3 people attend religiously. It was awesome. And then I said, hey, I got to let this one go. Team said, hey, we're expending too much energy on something that's not really got traction. And they said, awesome. And then I had like 5, 10, 15 people come and be like, oh, I was going to attend next week. And I'm like, you liar. You're an absolute liar. How dare you? But I said, hey, no, what we're moving to is a large group reality to emphasize our small groups. So that way when people come into the church, we can create them coming into men's and women's groups and young adult ministry. So that way when they come in, there's a large group for them to come into. So if you did want to attend TAP, hit up our men's ministry. They're going to do that once a month, just like we did TAP. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm now saying in our large ministry, we are going to drive people into a small group then. So our language from the men's leaders are saying, hey, I would love for you to be in a small group. Have you guys thought about this constantly? So I'm saying this one is not the reality right now, but our men's group might be able to do that later on. But jump into here because it's going to be once a month just like you wanted. Shift into a visionary component, not just a component of a ministry that's running for the sake of the ministry. So I hope that helps a little bit. Okay. One more question, and then we'll do our 5 key shifts we see in worship. Man, if I ended early, Bishop would be so happy with me. I'm really debating right now just to kind of like power through and give 5 minutes back. And he'd be like, man, that Pastor Joe and Jess.
It's just lunch. You're
Yeah, I'm just keeping them from food? Oh, man, I did not know that. How many of you are hungry? I'm spiritually feeding you right now, so put your hands down. Okay, here we go. You don't know any of you present with us on a Sunday. Okay, here we go. All right, let's move on, and we're going to hit up some time with the 5 key truths about worship. And I want you to write these down also. These are the things that we see specific about worship. This is also a take your breath in moment. We want to be honest with you right now that the church is changing, and we see that happening. So here are the things that are going on. The first truth is this. Worship is not decreasing, it's decentralizing. We have to get off of Sunday. That keys into one of our key shifts. It's not decreasing. It's decentralizing. People still crave worship. They want to be a part of your church in every aspect. We are expecting them to be present on Sunday. Our expectation is what's the matter. Our expectation of where they need to be in order how to influence our hearts is what's hurting us right now. If we can break that open and say it's not decreasing, it's decentralizing, we'll realize that people crave worship right now. They're just craving more opportunity for it in different ways than we provide it. So we need to think through that. Here's the next truth about worship. Truth number 2. Worship was always meant to be both and. Whoa, man, I love this one. How many of you know the term hybrid? How many of you love that term? Okay, we got the 50 hands went down and 2 went up. Boom, I love it. This is great. I'm going to share something with you, and I'm just going to let it sit. And I hope it sits in a way that challenges you, but also affirms that the church has always been this way. So check this out. We have a wonderful way to talk about a hybrid theology. God created the heavens and the earth. We are fully human, fully divine that we see in Jesus Christ. We are saint and sinner. I go to prepare a place for you was the text that we read earlier, but you cannot go there yet. Both and. The disciples, even after the resurrection, as they sat around the table waiting for Jesus to come, and they saw Jesus amongst them after the resurrection, it said they worshiped and they doubted. And yet, we don't want to be a church in 2 places. We've always been a church in 2 places. And we continue to be a church in 2 places. Where we broke was when we trapped it on a Sunday in one church. I love the story of this church that was combining, right? The 2 churches becoming one and sharing the real reality of that. I have to say, I deeply, deeply, deeply appreciated that authenticity, that nature, that understanding, that little bit of back and forth that happened, because that to me is the reality of the church that we are. That to me is the intimate nature of seeing God exist in many places for the sake of the gospel. There's an incredible reality that existed among our churches, and those churches broke down the walls in the most amazing way possible. And it's not easy. It's tough. This was never clean. This is why we hurt for the kingdom of heaven. Like, it's not a situation that makes it comfortable. It makes it a holy discontent, wholly uncomfortable in our lives. And I love, personally, to live in that space. And so here's what we define as hybrid church. Hybrid church is the seamless integration of time-honored tradition and sustaining innovation. Now, if you notice, I didn't say technology. Do you guys not see that on there? Sustaining innovation. Incremental change is what that is. The seamless integration of a time-honored tradition of many years of liturgical worship and incremental change towards what is coming next. That's the statement of what hybrid church is. And all that we hope is that we begin to make those incremental changes one small step at a time. Not a giant leap, one small step at a time. All right, here's the next truth about worship.
Worship, we've said this probably a bazillion times, so hopefully it will sink in. Worship is every day, not just on Sunday. Every day. We can access Bible app whenever you want to. You can access your actual physical Bible whenever you want to. You can watch churches from across the world whenever you want to. This is also an important one. Worship in moments, not in an hour. How do you capture these moments of worship, right? Is it a coffee with someone who's contemplating ministry? How do you capture that moment and share it to your community?
So in this way, and the worship's not in a moment, it's not in an hour, what is coming from a key truth about worship is that worship is moving to short-form content. Okay? Long-form content is an hour of worship that someone gets to watch, right, and be a part of. Short-form content is that we take every part of our worship and we break it into small moments. So the message that was 35 minutes is now a 3-minute clip, and that 3-minute clip has a 30-second point, and that 30-second point has one profound 7-second, Jesus loves you. You just need to know that. And it breaks all the way down, right? We need to begin to think of worship not in an hour, but in those singular moments. And speaking of that, we do a couple unique things in worship at the neighborhood church. And one of the things that we do is our service opens, and I had a question about service and how we run our service. We have a hosted opening, which means that Jess and Mercedes, which we call the morning mess, Jess and Mercedes, J and M, the morning mess, they're on there, and they host an opening for 5 minutes talking about the life of the church just for our online people. That does two things. One is it gives our online people saying, hey, we love you. You're not just watching our service. We know you're out there, and we want to share things just with you. Right? The second thing it does is let all the late people in church come in on time. We're not confused. I said you have to name where you're at. Our people come in 5 to 10 minutes late every single Sunday.
We have all, well, you have set that culture, though.
I've said, what? You think I've set that culture?
Because you're never on time.
I'm on time to worship.
Well, fair, but...
This is great. I've never been not on time to worship, hence my terrifying dreams that I've had. Okay, now with that, leave that there for a second. So with our worship, one thing we do is we go through a 12-minute opener. We allow our worship leader to share scripture, to share a God moment that they had that week and where they feel that people should be guiding themselves, right? So that way we have more of a way for people to share gospel. And then after that, we get into a space where we have fellowship time after the announcements. So our announcements come up. We share how you connect with the church. We say, here's what's going on. Hey, while you can connect with the church, we have prayer partners available in our corner over here if you want to pray with someone. And we have 5 minutes of fellowship time to refill your coffee, prepare your heart for the word, get signed up for the things that are coming up. We'll see you back in 5 minutes. And to every person that wanted to sneak in and sneak out at that moment, disaster. Like, you should see the faces of all our guests. They're like, no, we have 5 minutes of people just getting up and walking around, and we do.
Or the introverts in the room. Like, you're just like, oh, hide under my seat moment.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful time. It is a staple of our church. But we do that so that we can share a meet your neighbor moment online. And every single Sunday, we meet someone new. We've met construction people, we've met food trucks, we've met people in the church, volunteers, service people. So everyone watching online gets to meet someone from the life of our community. So I wonder, just for a second, we have a Meet Your Neighbor that we have to film for tomorrow. So I was going to grab the bishop, oh, man, Jason definitely back there. Yeah, absolutely, right, helping us out would be wonderful. But I thought, why don't we meet NTNL? Wouldn't that be really cool? So can you mind if I shoot a short video and we can just meet NTNL and you guys just shout a big hi and we'll say we're out here? Is that great? Okay, here we go. You're going to do it that way? Okay, that's great. Okay, Lord, okay. I'm ready. I'm ready. 3, 2. Neighborhood Church, what's going on? It is great to see you. I'm glad that you're watching online with us today on Facebook and YouTube. And we just want to share a quick moment of the Meet Your Neighbor. And Jess and I are actually out here in Shreveport, Louisiana. We're with some incredible people from NTNL Synod. Whoa! Oh my goodness. They want to know what's happening with the church. And guess what? If you look right down, come with me 1 second. Come with me. That's the bishop right there. Wow. Super important, and he wants us to stay on time, and we are so close to being over time. And what comes next? What comes next? Lunch. Now, the question, Neighborhood Church, is if the content we are delivering to talk about the future of the church is more important than food. And the answer is? The answer is It's debatable is what just happened. It's debatable. So North Texas, North Louisiana, you guys are incredible. We love that you're out in Shreveport gathered together. And there's, 300 people in here, which is absolutely awesome. And we're talking about the future of the church. So everyone just say, and all God's people said, amen. I love it. All right, neighborhood church, I hope you're enjoying this. And you'll get to meet a couple other neighbors from NTNL right after this. Done. You guys see it? How long did it take?
A minute, 7 seconds.
A
Great
minute,
job.
7 seconds. And guess what? Now our church gets to meet you. How are we taking worship in moments? And how are we creating opportunities? Now I'm going to share that in our worship. I'm going to share that online. I'm going to share that out on our Instagram. I'm going to put, great, done, awesome. Now they get to meet you, which is super incredible. And they know that the church is doing things beyond worship. Do you see what's happening? We need to take away this hour that we've trapped and release it in a wonderful way. So that's truth number 4. Here's truth number 5. What was happening prior to 2020 was accelerated in 2020. Can everyone go, ooh? But that's not what you think. So everyone said this when things were going on, and I heard it across all of our teaching, all the different areas that we taught in, all the different churches that we went with, all the different spaces we were in. But I saw something different. And I really want to leave you with this in an incredible way. What I saw happening in every single church is that it did accelerate. But it accelerated what was truly there. And it was our ability to change. It was our ability to grow. It was our ability to adapt. It was our ability to be uncomfortable and be in the wilderness and know that we're going to walk through it and not wander in it. What we showed and accelerated is that the Church of God is living and breathing and active in our lives and will continue to be in situations that are unimaginable, and that you can find a home and community here, especially in a Lutheran church, that values grace, not our works, but God's will in us. Nothing that we could do to change that. That's the gospel that we are bringing. We discovered that we could change. And so I leave you with the vision of the neighborhood, a vision that we have had now for 12 years, and it's this. We believe that we change church. And the reason there's a period after that is because we believe that because you've walked into our church, you have changed us. We are now made new, and we have to discover who we are as a church because you walked in our doors. You've already changed us. So we are to change church like Christ changed the world. And we do that by creating relationship. We create relationship with God first, each and every day, not just on Sunday. And we create relationship with the body of Christ here so we can go out and create relationship with our neighbors in the community. So we are here to change church and create relationship, and we believe that you are too. Hey, we hope that you enjoyed this. We want to stay on time. We love you, NTNL, and it was absolutely wonderful to be here with you. Oh, I ended at 12:00:05. Oh, let's go, Bishop. That was great. Wow, that's amazing.